Mackenzie.
Lemar.
Question of the week. I did not do because this is our 1 year. We are going to be shooting the shit on a lot of different things, a lot of memories and a lot of fan questions and topics of discussion. So I don't know about you, but I'm okay with just phoning this one in. Fuck it. Let's just go to the credits.
I also have no cold open, so let's fucking roll.
Rock and roll.
Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
It's my line.
I'm
Lemar.
There it is. He did it. After a year, he's got it down with a script. And guess what? It's our anniversary.
Yay!
Oh my God. We made it. We're here in real life.
We can high five for real.
We can high five.
Nailed it. Okay.
Nailed it. Did great. Totally. You guys heard it and you saw it because now all of our videos are live on Spotify and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So we are committed to the bit, man.
And I know that a lot of people are probably looking at we're sharing this couch, and I'm just making myself at home here.
So cash.
And I do want you guys to know every episode I lay exactly as sexily as I am now, but you can only see me from here up. So.
What is this? This is the Burt Reynolds photo shoot for you. This is your Burt Reynolds moment.
I tried to grow my stash back out in time for this look, but it just didn't happen this time.
Oh, and I went fancy. I even wore my fake diamonds, y'all.
I like the sweater. The sweater is,
This is, chic. Spooky vibe sweater. Also spooky vibes behind us. Welcome to my home, guys. If y'all have never, nobody here has seen me probably 90% of the time. None of you guys haven't seen me, but you certainly haven't seen my crazy Halloween decor.
All they ever see is your bookshelf.
All they ever see is my bookshelf. Yeah. Now you get to see my spooky stuff.
Well, part of me was kind of not disappointed, but there's the one negative is I'm bummed that our anniversary is always going to be in October, and it's that's when I want to talk about horror movies, which we are doing a fair amount of this month.
Sure.
But so I like that we can do our 1 year with this setting.
We can, I thought it was apropos of our vibes as a pod. It is when we started as a pod. It is both of our favorite time of year. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's the vibe for sure.
Agreed.
So as we said, it's our anniversary up. We're taking a very different shtick today. We are not talking about a movie. We are talking about a bunch of movies, feedback from you guys, what we thought, what y'all thought, recommendations. If you didn't hear the 27 allusions to this in earlier pods, somebody's going to win something.
Yeah, we got prizes.
And it's a lot to fucking do. So we need a drink. What are we drinking, Lemar?
Well, we agreed to do some of our favorite drinks from previous episodes, and both of these were designed. I know at the beginning we sort of just did whatever we could with what we had, and then about 6 to 8 months in, Skylar at Craft World Novel, crft.wrld, follow him because he's been designing our drinks for the last 4 to 6 months, and they are tasty.
Yeah.
This one was my favorite. It's called the Firewood Fire Water, and this was for our Wet Hot American Summer episode. I don't actually have the recipe in front of me because I'm ill prepared.
Wait, he gave it to me.
But I know it's 2 ounces of tequila, I think an ounce of Cointreau, and then it's equal parts OJ, actual OJ, not orange juice.
This is turning into a test.
I'm doing my best. It's OJ, lemon juice, lime juice, and then there's half ounce of olive juice. I don't know if there's simple in it. Is there simple in it too?
Yes, there is simple. There's a half ounce of simple.
Okay, and then the last is the chili flakes to give it a little kick.
Yeah, and the lemon juice is just a little splash, but yeah, you did great. And yes, sprinkle red pepper on the top, just kind of cover that top layer.
Yeah, but this sucker's tasty.
It is
if you
really
want to hear
good.
the action, if I fucked it up, go listen to the Wet Hot American Summer episode. It's very, very good. What about you?
It is very good. Another one of my recent faves, is from the Babadook episode, which was the Insomniac, which is essentially like an espresso martini. It's like a riff on an espresso martini. And it's not as foamy and pretty as it was, but it is just as delish. So, and also I have learned through this process that my favorite drinks are often coffee related.
You do a lot of boozy coffee.
I do a lot of boozy. Yeah. So that's definitely my favorite, but I will say I had the benefit early on of Skylar has always made me cocktails. So I'm just glad he's doing it officially. And yeah, definitely go follow him. He also does cocktail workshops. I feel like we haven't plugged that.
I don't thank him enough. The past few weeks I've been critiquing him pretty heavily of making me go buy these ingredients that I do not own. But Skylar's been doing a great job, so we sincerely appreciate it. And actually, I had one of those before I came over. I needed a little pick-me-up. I needed the caffeine more than I needed the booze. And so I made that exact same drink before I came here. So.
And he did make these for us.
Well, do we want to cheers to that?
Yeah, we are.
Wait, actually, better idea. It's our 1 year, so why don't we have a special cheers?
Special cheers.
Tequila shot?
Tequila.
To a year.
To a year. Cheers. Oof. And also, let's see if I can get it to the camera. We drink and we watch things shot glasses.
Is this a prize today?
I feel like we need a merch store.
Can they have like the actual glass that I drank out of, and now it's got my.
So we'll get to prizes later, but yes, for sure the koozie is one of them. That's the one we've been plugging the most.
That's worth the most.
That is worth the most. We have some surprise prizes. I will tease that. Surprise prizes, yes, because we originally, as y'all know, we're only going to give away a $200 koozie for free, high value koozie. But in my...
Are we making them pay like $60 shipping and handling at least?
Obviously. Yes. It's really fragile.
Congratulations.
So yeah, no, not free fulfillment unless you live in Austin, in which case you can come pick it up from me. But yes, there are other prizes, but they can't be revealed until after you receive your gift.
Okay.
Because it will spoil your gift.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know that one of our listeners had asked about like we just named 2 of our favorite cocktails. Were there any other standouts for you from the year? I know that's sort of putting you on the spot, but
it is. But I did think about it, and what I just said definitely holds true, which is the boozy coffees. Which I actually have a boozy coffee recipe that was not Skylar's and does not follow any cocktail rules. So he actually makes fun of me about it quite a bit
because the proportions are
yeah, exactly. And but I love it. I still will just drink it all the time. It's coffee obviously, but then it's also a hazelnut liqueur of some kind, like whether if you don't want to do Frangelico, that's obviously one of them that's famous. And then it is also just whiskey, either Bailey's or Orion's or whatever, an Irish creamy whiskey as well. And it's really just those 2 things. And then sometimes, depending on the coffee, I'll do like a twinge of lemon, which I know sounds weird, but it actually just like a little squeeze.
Okay.
But it depends, and it's actually very good. I like those. I also love anything we've done with tequila. Pretty much, I love this cocktail.
It's hard to fuck up a tequila drink.
This Hot American Summer cocktail is so good to me. I love a spicy marg. That's probably one of them. But the other shout out I have to give is that I am not a gin drinker. I will say I'm not a big gin person, but Skylar makes excellent gin cocktails. Like he's the only one who can get me to drink gin cocktails, and the ones that he's made for us for the pod I have liked as well.
I only like gin in a good cocktail, and it can't be gin forward. Like I don't really like straight martinis that are gin. Like I have to go vodka just because gin overpowers anything that's in. But I'll do it with bee's knees and something like that with a little more sweetness to it. I really dug. I was trying to reflect back. I was like scrambling back through the prior episodes today and looking. I really liked the Deadpool cocktail that I had in Deadpool and Wolverine. That red one was pretty tasty. Skylar knows me well. And then there was one that I made, but I couldn't find which episode it was in. So somebody will have to let me know. But it was another boozy, but it was hot chocolate. And I put Chambord and Frangelico both in there. And that went real well. Like that was the best one that I've created.
Skylar probably also make fun of you for that, is my guess. I have no idea, but I bet he will. Skylar, let us know if that's worth making fun of. But I have never had that.
Chambord and hot chocolate,
really good,
worth trying. Yeah.
You said, what was it that you just said? You just reminded me. Yes, Deadpool. I also loved the Deadpool and Wolverine ones because the Wolverine one is the one that I got to drink, and it was just fucking bourbon, and I had a great time. Had a great time. Oh, love it. All right. Well, those are our drinks for today. Some of our faves, as we know. Shall we get into the plan? I think we can give them the lowdown.
Yeah.
So you guys, love you. Also, we harassed you a little as well. But thank you so much for giving us so much awesome feedback. We have broken the feedback up into a lot of things. One of the things we wanted to cover that was suggested to us was our least favorite apps, which There are a few.
49 out of the 50, honestly.
There are a few. And then our favorite eps. And then just some fun submissions and thoughts. We have some feedback from our guest hosts, which is really fun.
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone out there. Like, it means a lot. A lot of you are friends with us IRL. If you're not, you're just not friends with us IRL yet. I'm sure we will be friends in real life
DM
one of
us.
these days. So yeah. But for all of you, it does mean a lot. And it feels like based on the feedback we got, you guys are not just listening to us because you're forced to be.
Listen, I got into fights with friends today about not listening to the podcast. So there are definitely those who don't listen because they don't want to. So I feel like, yes, these folks are the ones that listen because they want to, not just because they're our friends and we love you.
And we got some criticism too. So
we
like,
did.
We're
Y'all
gonna
talked
go and
some
like
shit.
we enjoy that. So.
They talked some shit and we will get into it. I got feelings about a couple things, but
you got names.
I got name, and I do have names. A couple of you I have anonymized at your request, but others I'm gonna call you the fuck out. Anyway, and then we have some more generic fan submissions that are like favorites, fun facts, like what they liked most, some thoughts about certain apps. We got some of that. We definitely have some fan complaints, like we said. Then we have some future recommendations, which I want to surface in general. I want to hear from people like, double, triple tap this or not? Like, do you want us to do, like, here's a bunch of feedback. Do you agree? Kind of thing.
I'd also like to hear not just individual movies, but themes, because we do tend to stick to like one theme every month or so. And I'd be curious to hear what other ideas folks have, because we have a few we've been kicking around, but it'd be cool to hear
that we haven't done yet.
What would you like us to do a series of 4 or 5 of, whether that's an actor, a director, or a type of movie.
And I have one of those in here, which we will ask people what they think. Cool. And then we, of course, we have some others. So I think we'll also release some polls after this along those lines. That could be cool, because I do like that we get a lot of feedback that the month over month structure is very nice, because they can like follow a theme. So and then we also have fan questions that we're going to cover. And then we're going to talk about the winners based on the feedback. So like all of you who submitted awesome feedback, we have chosen 3 that we love the most. So spoiler alert, there's going to be 3 winners. And then we're going to do some gifts and sign off.
I'm really looking forward to the gifts, honestly.
Yeah, we're going to show off the wrapping job of my gift. I'm just saying the wrapping job alone is pretty excellent. And actually, Skylar was mad at me that I didn't let him wrap it, because he loves wrapping things.
I went to Target and got a $2.
Listen, I am a bag person, 100%, no judgment. Yeah. Okay, but I had to get you this wrapping paper.
I can see it from here. I dig that wrapping paper.
Yes, I had to get you this, and then I had to wrap it, and I didn't feel like I could outsource the job. It's from me. So anyway, all that.
Where do you want to start?
I think we're gonna start at the bottom 3 eps.
We can only get better
from here. I think we should talk some serious shit about ourselves and then go from there.
Well, I think the first one that we agreed on, and we've mentioned it in the last 2 weeks.
We've mentioned it, you guys know where many times.
Can I tell you guys how disappointed I am that our second and third episode on Spotify or anywhere you listen to us
is our worst episode.
One of our worst. It's not that it's terrible. It's just not well thought out, because it's our Halloween-ish 2-parter where we dissected a top 10 Halloween list that we found on the internet. But in addition to talking about those 10 movies, we talked about all these other movies we would replace it with. So
okay, but wait, let me give you the behind the scenes. Universally panned episode. Like, nobody likes it. Everyone I've talked to individually, nobody likes it. I don't like it. Lamar doesn't like it. Nobody likes it. We like the movies, though, which is the thing that upsets me and makes me bummed that we didn't do it justice. But the reason it was not well thought out is that you threw me an audible. I don't know if you remember this. This was before we knew that we needed so much structure going into episodes. Like, we needed to really communicate structure. Like today's app, we planned this outline, right? Like, we figured this out together. This was not so on the top 10
Typically,
episode.
I thrive on a lack of structure and just like, I'll go with the flow. I'm great at improvising.
You're a closet type A'er, though. Don't talk shit. This was the exception. This was the exception. Well, I think it was just purely he had an idea in his head and I had an idea in my head. And we were, in my head, going to just review the top 10. Talk shit or talk positive about the top 10 list, which was a controversial list. Yeah. But then, in real time, you threw me an Audible and we're like, well, what would you replace it with? And
yeah.
it opened up a can of worms, which I do think is a cool concept, but it went off the rails.
It just went way too long.
Yes.
I think you can do one or the other. You can say, we're going to
Right.
critique this top 10 list, or we're going to make our own, or
Yes.
maybe I pick 5, you pick 5.
Right.
And we discuss 10 movies, not 65 like we did. So
Yeah.
that was,
like, talk about things we've learned. These are the things we've learned.
I keep telling Mackenzie, we need to put one of those, I forget what you'd like, a preview app on Spotify at the very top, so that new people, we can say, hey, do yourself a favor. You don't have to go through in order of these. Just pick a movie you like.
Any minute now, I'm literally just gonna archive the Halloween app. Like, it's just not gonna be available anymore. Y'all don't need it. We don't need it. It's for everybody's betterment, honestly. So yeah, we both agree on that one. But then we each have a couple others which are different.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. I actually tried to do a couple different ones. And it's hard. I will just say, how was this for you? This was hard for me.
Honestly, mine were pretty quick. And it's not because...
Well, I just mean the whole, like, go back and look at the whole year and remember the differentiators. That was hard.
I think the ones that I picked for my least favorites are the ones that I remembered the least about. And I think that's because I didn't find them... Not that I didn't find the movie interesting, but I just didn't find the conversation that I brought to the table interesting, because I didn't feel that strongly about the films, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of those. It's not, you know,
I don't
really
like
if
it's not a Pixar and they're not animated, I don't like them.
If it's not Ratatouille, you don't do a great job. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so wait, what's your next one that you
I'll
hate?
start with we did a month where we did Oscar nominees, and we did Killers of the Flower Moon, which, not a big fan of that film. I think I critiqued it to shit. I think there's some great performances, but overall it was long, it was meandering. None of the plot felt very predictable, but like we were supposed to be surprised. And I'm not going to rehash that episode, but go if you want to listen to it and hear all my criticisms. But again, I just felt like I didn't bring much to the table, because like it's just this long 3 fucking hour movie that just drained me. And I was like, it's not fun, but it's not doing a great job of making me super sad either. So it was just dull. I did not enjoy that episode.
No, I totally agree. I didn't like it either. It wasn't my pick, partially because it was your pick, actually, because it was another one that I was like, I kind of agree with that, but I thought we should shake it up a little. But I agree. It was one of the ones that popped into my head so fucking long. I remember having such a hard time getting through it, both from a watching standpoint to a like studying about it, like trying to recon on it later. And then even our ep, I felt like we were trying, like you said, to just give some kind of information, especially some that was at least marginally positive.
What I say
and it
during
was
the
so
ep
hard.
is like the lesson of the history of this is very interesting.
They
go read a book,
right?
Learn about it yourself. Don't watch this movie.
And the book is universally really well received, actually. And my best friend, who I did not do this before the movie. I think I read it after, like right after the movie is what it was. Read the movie and was super hyped for the release, and was also very let down. Like that's one of the feedback that they actually sent to us was like, I agree with you. I felt so validated by you guys' analysis of Killers of the Flower Moon, because I was so pumped for that and didn't end up liking it at all. So I think we did a public service. We made somebody feel better.
I think so. I think we saved people 3 hours. You could probably get the cliff notes of the book in less than 3 hours, and you'll be smarter for it, I think. So
100%.
All right, what about you? What's one of yours?
So my next one is probably a surprising one, because I picked it for the pod, but it was surprising for me as well, because, and I don't remember if I said this in the app because I didn't go back and listen, but my thing was that I wanted us to have like a female director month. We talked about this, and Sofia Coppola is one of the more well-known like modern film directors who is a woman. And I was like, let's do one of hers. And I remember seeing Marie Antoinette, I think in high school. And what I realized is I remember basically nothing about it, because when we watched it again, I was like, this sucks. Yeah. I really did not like this movie. All we did in the ep that I remember, I don't remember explicitly. The only thing I remember in this ep us talking about was that it sucked. We didn't like it. We just tore it to shreds. I think the only thing we liked was the music.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. The style of it is cool. The visual, the fashion, the music, all of that. But it's another one where the real life thing that happens is much more interesting than what they do.
And they don't, and that was the thing, is I was like, give the history, because as you know, I spent a lot of time like fucking giving a history lesson in that episode, because I was like, this is more interesting than the movie. Yeah. And I was like, if you take all of this and put this in the movie with this style and this music, and you actually make it about this, this is so much more interesting. And they just didn't do that. I was so disappointed.
I agree. And I think it's like you're trying to make a hero out of this protagonist who is just not well regarded in her country's history, but you want us to love her.
And you don't make us love her.
I'm
we hate her.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, Wolf of Wall Street, same scenario. You're supposed to hate the guy, but he's so charismatic.
But he's charismatic. You're kind of rooting for him, but you're also supposed to recognize that he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And they thread that needle really well in that. And then, in this, they do not. Yeah. For sure.
All right.
Okay, what's your next one?
All right, I'll finish up with this one, and this is not because I did not enjoy the movie, but it was another one
where... I was shooketh to see this on your list.
I looked down the list of episodes, and you guys might hate me for this, but I did not enjoy the Cool Runnings episode. And again, it was more about what I could bring to the table, because this was my first time ever watching it all the way through.
Oh, that's right.
I pointed out on the episode, I waited way too late in life to watch Cool Runnings, so I was again getting caught up in... well, this is, a Disney take on this, so it's not historically accurate in a lot of ways, and the humor doesn't land for me because I didn't watch it when I was young enough to appreciate humor. So it wasn't so much that I didn't see the appeal of the film, and if I'd seen it younger, I would like it more, but I just felt like I was slogging my way through that episode of how can I talk this up but not shit on a nostalgia piece for a lot of people. So it was more of a personal thing.
Yeah, and it was a big nostalgia piece for me. I do remember that about this for you now that you say it. I was shocked to see it on your list because I was like, this is one of the greatest movies. But probably not one of our greatest eps, though. Yeah.
I don't think it was the movie I rated the lowest this year. It was just the episode itself was not that fun for me because I didn't have a lot to say.
Yeah, I hear that.
What about you? Last one?
Bringing it home. So... Cabin in the Woods is my least favorite.
Of shit.
No, listen. I knew you were going to say that, and that's actually why I literally didn't put it in your notes, because I was like, he's going to talk shit to me immediately. It is not for the reason you think.
Okay.
No. This was a miserable recording experience for me. And I was kind of running the gambit of what is a bad movie, what is like a bad episode, and then this was just a bad recording experience. And I feel really bad because everybody knows this now, so we had a guest on the app, and it was a really great guest who had a ton of great things to contribute and actually made me rethink some perspective here. Like, I can tune out Lemar sometimes, guys, so every now and then it's nice to have somebody else affirm some things for him, I think. But no, I mean, it's still not my favorite episode. It's still not my favorite film, but I definitely saw the appeal of certain things better.
We raised your rating by a point.
We
brought it from a 4.5 to a 5.5. It was great.
A whole ass point. Yeah, you guys lobbied me, and I think it went well. But if you watch the video, you will see there is a significant delay in cuts, my movement, my mouth moving. None of it is syncing up because I have no idea. I have crazy good internet and all the things and whatever, but I was just having a terrible day of recording. And these poor guys also had to pause their own reactions, their own responses to me. So I feel like it was probably pretty miserable for you too, because
from a technical standpoint, it was one of the rougher. I think, what was the one that was it? The Holdovers that we recorded an entire episode and lost it because of weird echoey stuff. I remember. Yeah. There was another episode where I actually did a preamble and said, hey, my audio sucks, but it's we're going to put it out. But there was one where we had to scrap the whole episode.
We had to scrap the whole episode, so it's really bad. That's really hard. I think it happens to every podcaster at one point. I hear other pods say that, so I guess we're in good company. But it super sucks, and it's time-consuming to do. And I think the thing I hate about the Holdovers thing is that the first record was really good. I remember
then you're trying to repeat,
and then you're trying to recreate the magic happen, and it's not going to happen. Anyway, so yes, not for the reasons you think, but that was a very hard recording
I
session.
understand that. That does make a lot. I take back calling you a piece of shit.
Y'all, he gets so mad at me about this movie. This is our one real fight that we have, I think. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna switch gears, and I think again it can only go up from here.
Yeah.
Top 3 favorite apps.
Do you want to start this time?
No, it's okay because this one's shared actually.
Okay, so I think
there's another situation where they're shared.
I think my favorite, it might be my number one of just the most fun episode. Too. I kind of categorized mine of the most fun recording I had was The Sandlot.
Yes,
I think
blast.
It's
total blast.
I think the number one thing I picked up on during that rewatch was this is not just good because it's nostalgia, which is what I think some people, when they watch Cool Runnings, it's oh, I remember this when I was a kid. It was funny. Or Fern Gully. There's some stuff that doesn't age well. The Sandlot, 95% of it is still fucking hilarious to this day and relatable. And I just feel like that recording, Mac came in and he was ready, like as a co-host, and just brought notes, brought lines of insults, brought
Oh my
his
God,
own
the insults.
personality.
Yes.
So it's always fun when we bring a third person in.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic
Yeah, it
every
changes
time.
the dynamic, and it's like we're cracking jokes, they're cracking jokes. We have a group of people to try our material out on. So
Yeah.
I think Sandlot was my number one most fun episode.
I think so. Definitely from a recording perspective, from the guest host, like it's such a great movie that's so ripe for it. We're so pumped about the content. And this is one of the few that I think we rave about and people just are like, yes, preach. You know what I mean? Because most time like, we get a lot of feedback actually, and we'll get into it about people who are like, I don't like when you just love things, right? Like we loved this movie and I think it still landed really well. And then yeah, major props to Mac, who is genuinely one of my favorite people on and off the pod. And he just showed up in exactly the way I expected, totally prepared, totally ready to contribute. And again, like you said, with just awesome personality. And fun fact, he got shouted out as our best guest host in our fan submissions.
Ooh.
Yeah, they said that he was the best guest host, that they loved him, and that he should come back. Which I totally agree. I will say all of our guest hosts, to your point, bring something different to the pod, and they're all really awesome and fun. But he was shouted out specifically, so I think that's awesome.
Very cool. Good for you, Mac. Put that in your diary tonight.
Also put it on your resume. You're welcome. You were a guest host on this podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so next one. What's your next fave?
I would probably go. So again, I did categories. So I went with what was my favorite movie we covered this year of all the films. Just what is the best film overall? And I think it was hard to pull me away from Pulp Fiction because we did that so early on.
It was so good. It's so good. Yeah, and that was a good app.
Just it's so fun to discuss. It's still like 30 years later is one of the greatest films of all time. I can rewatch it every year if I had to. And it was just so cool to cover that super early. We did Tarantino-vember last year. We'll have another director month coming next month. I guess we'll announce that in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I just Pulp Fiction. It's going to be hard to sway me away from that one. As much as I wanted to put Sandlot also as like the best movie, I think Pulp Fiction is still my number one.
It was a really good month. I mean, in general, but I think that was definitely one of the strongest eps. And I think, fun fact, I think that's our number 3 ep, actually.
Okay.
I think it's our number 3 most downloaded ep, actually. Okay. So yeah, it's a popular one.
All right. What about you?
So this next one is also a guest host, which I think is interesting. The
Cabin
theme.
in the Woods.
No, definitely not. Saltburn.
Ooh.
This is an interesting one because this movie, I don't even remember what my consensus was at the end of this film, to be honest, but I remember this conversation being so interesting.
Yeah.
Like having such a really great conversation with Taylor, our guest host, who has a film background as well, actually, which I don't know if that contributes or what, but he did, and he was really leaned in. And I actually played back snippets of it today, like gut check myself. I didn't listen to whole episodes of anything, but I was like, this is what my gut is telling me. I'm curious if I still love it. And we had just such thought-provoking conversations. And the nerd in me was like, this is such a cool topic. And even if you don't love this movie, it gets a fucking reaction.
I think I'm looking at the notes you wrote down for this, and I agree. Like, it was an intellectual discussion about a film that's pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna, I'll never look at a bathtub the same way.
Never
again.
The bathtub, man, the scandal. And I even actually put in our like words that we all picked, actually, because I was really
we
curious.
Did the like 3-word summary,
So our guest host Taylor, we asked him to say in 3 words how he would describe this movie, and because it's short, I'll share it here, which is delicious, dirty, and British, which I thought was fitting. And yours was Bret Easton Ellis, which is a person that gave you these vibes.
That author,
you gave back like
American
that.
Psycho, Rules of Attraction,
and you give a really good explanation as to why. So like y'all who haven't heard that episode, go back and listen. But then I said decadent, twisted, enigmatic.
That's like 2/3 of a Saw movie. If we could get a decadent Saw film, you'd be 3 for 3. And that is kind of Saltburn, actually.
It is kind of, right? So anyway, I think those things kind of sum up that where this conversation went is what I would say. And it was a great conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I would add to my list, I guess this will be my last one, and I'm kind of like flipping a coin here. I did a category of what was my favorite movie that I saw for the first time this year, not necessarily because of the podcast, but we watched it and covered it on the pod. And I have two choices, and if it's okay, I'm going to pull a Mackenzie here and do both because I
I
feel
was
like
literally just about to give you the green light because I also broke the rules on my
okay.
third.
All right, I knew you would, so
Yeah.
I'm in the clear.
Yeah.
So, new film that came out this year, Poor Things.
Yeah.
That one blew me away, and it was such a ride of similar in some ways to Saltburn, but this one starts out uncomfortable and
Yes.
gradually you see this
And it's
evolution of
like,
a character.
yeah, it's so fascinating because it is quote unquote weird. You watch it and you think
Mhm.
immediately it's weird, but it tells this incredible story and this really empowering story. And
Mhm.
the evolution of that, and it's visually stunning, and the conversation was really good. I totally agree with you. And common theme, we had another guest host. Janelle
Yeah.
was on that
She came
one.
on there. I thought it was
So have
important to
we
have another
learned
female perspective on that film, so
totally have we learned that we're not enough? Like we're
I think you need to
actually
fire me and
like
just bring in
apparently
guests
we
every
need
week.
a guest host on every episode because those are our favorites. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But yeah, I just thought that one, I think even in the episode I said, hey, I'm not comparing the movie to Saltburn, but you need to go in with an open mind and be ready to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable at times because it will blow you away by the end of it if you can stomach like all the different weirdness in there. And then the other one that I would do that was a movie I had never seen, but has came out in I think
You had a lot of
89.
feelings about this one.
I did. I went hard on Do the Right Thing because
Mhm.
I was blown away by how a film that's 35 years old could still be so culturally relevant in America to the
Yeah.
Black experience, and not just the Black experience, but just multicultural like diversity and these,
Minority experience
and
versus
these neighborhoods in New York City where you have all these different
yeah.
groups of people. And it's another one. It's a literal slow burn where the day's getting hotter and hotter, and
Yeah.
I felt like I talked it up a hell of a lot when we did that episode and tried to convince folks to watch it during when we
You gave a
celebrated
full-blown
Juneteenth.
speech about it, yeah.
And I just want to double tap on that. If you still have not watched Do the Right Thing, like I highly encourage everyone to watch it and learn something.
And I keep forgetting that was your first watch.
Mhm.
And I think it's so indicative of that first watch actually though, because it is a very profound experience the first time, and it continues to be, but in different ways. I don't mean it doesn't lose any of that, but you see different facets of it and you can interpret it even more. But I think what was cool about that ep for us is that I had seen it several times, you had seen it once, and I think that was actually a really good compliment
Yeah.
to each other in the ep, and it resulted in a really good conversation. And I totally +1 that if you haven't seen it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Get on
You're
it.
doing the wrong thing.
You're doing the wrong thing.
All right.
Oh, I didn't
What do you
even
got?
mean to do
See,
that. I teed you up perfectly. Okay. All right. So I'm going to also break the rules because of course I am. So, and I'm glad that I wasn't alone because I saw your notes and I was like, yes. So this was actually the same day. And I think that's maybe what it was, is that like just the vibes were really good.
Yeah.
So the recording day was the Fall Guy Twisters combo.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wasn't that such a great day?
That was a fun day.
That was
It's
a
just like
fun
turn your brain
day.
off, enjoy an action film.
So like some behind the scenes, y'all. We usually record, or we try to record 2 eps per record. Sometimes it's 1 if we're crunched for time, but it's usually 2. And so we recorded those both on the same day. And they actually had common themes for me as far as why I picked them, which was they were a really fun recording sesh. We were having great banter, good time, good drinks, all the things. But they were both really fun movies. Like they were just fun watches. They were a good watch, good time to watch. And I got to nerd out on both of them. It's like the perfect things about that I want to see in movies.
Yeah.
I got to deep nerd on like stunt doubles and stunt effects, and I went like hard on that. And then
you gave us the science of tornadoes.
And then I gave us the science episode, the science, lesson on, twisters and doing a deep dive. And I did research for that, you guys. Like I went full nerd, and I got to full nerd on very fun movies, which I don't think always lines up, And so, I just had a great time on both of those.
I think there's some episodes where the dynamic between us does land in that way, where you bring that scientific and like
just nerdy shit, man.
Nerdy shit to the table, and then I just crack wise and try to keep up. And I think that works for most episodes. And there's other things.
Well, you're definitely the funny one. Like there's no argument there. I have funny gems, but you're the funny one.
That's the sweetest thing anybody's ever said to me, Mackenzie. Thank you.
You know you're funny. Come on, shut up. And I'm the nerd, and we know that too. So, so those were our faves. I think That was pretty good run. That was a pretty good representation too. Very different types of movies.
I mean, go back, listen to the good ones. If you want to listen to the bad ones too, be our guest. Just don't say we didn't warn you. Okay.
We warned you. We gave you the ones not to
So
listen to.
I know that we had talked about, I think 3 of our 5 guests, but you wanted to give a couple more details on the folks we didn't talk about yet. So what do you have to say about Kelsey, and what did he have to say about sitting in on Molly's game?
Okay, so one of my favorite things is that the poor people who already gave us enough of their time, I was like, hey, what was your favorite thing about recording with us? No pressure.
And I like that you phrased it that way. What did you like about getting to come hang out with us?
I'm a salesperson, guys. You assume the sale, right? Assume the positive. So I had decided that they liked it and made them react accordingly. Yeah. So Kelsey gave me such gems. Thank you, Kelsey. Love you. Miss you. Gonna share just verbatim his feedback, which came in text form and was hilarious because I could hear it in his voice, which was, I loved chatting about Sorkin, whether or not poker was a sport, that whole debate that we had. Costner, was he a good dad? Question mark, no. And then he was like, should we have played Bop, Murder, Mary, Costner versus Molly versus Player X? Which I was like,
PG version of
Fuck, Marry, Kill. Yeah, I think so. But I'm just saying, like, that would have been such a fun game that it's such a missed opportunity for these key players, Costner, Molly, Player X. I think that could go a lot of ways, is what I'm saying. That could be a fun can of worms.
I could get my answer real quick, I'm pretty sure, if we played Bop, Mary,
well,
Murder.
I'm just saying, yeah, I think, I mean, on all sides, you gotta be flexible. But also, he said, did Lemar imply that it was all a dream? Which I was going to ask you if you remembered that.
I don't remember implying that it was all a dream.
Now we have to go back. Thank you, Kelsey, for the homework.
I remember being confused by the parts of it that were coming, like the order of events, because she's writing a book about things that happened, but then it feels like we're watching those things. Like, I was confused by some of the timeline in it. So maybe
that it was all a dream.
That must have been what it was.
Checks out. All right. And then he also said, we didn't address this much, and I love this question. We didn't address this much, but we did cover that Player X is in fact Tobey Maguire. Did we lose respect for him because of how he was portrayed? I have a hard opinion about this.
Okay, go ahead. You give yours then.
Yes, spoiler alert. Yes, like Tobey Maguire is an asshole, apparently. I mean, and this is in and out of this movie, by the way. Like, he's supposed to be an asshole, but I think Michael Cera does a really good job of making him feel like an asshole.
I think, making that connection, it makes a lot of sense when you're watching it. And seeing him in Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm like, dude's looking a little worse for wear these days, and he hasn't had a ton of work in the last 10 years, so it doesn't shock me that it turns out he's kind of a dick IRL. So
yeah,
never met the man.
Being an asshole, like, we're not here to insult or talk about people's looks here on the pod, but I do firmly believe that being a dick shows up on your face. Shows up on your face and your body and all the things. Okay, last note, and he phrased it this way as well. Last note, I could have talked about Jeremy Strong's role, and by role I mean fedora hat, for conservatively another hour. Which I fucking totally agree. Like, Jeremy Strong is such a fun actor and like such a character actor, and he's so interesting to watch, and his fucking hat was ridiculous. Like, he was so extra in this movie, but I thought it was a great precursor to him in Succession, actually.
I think Jeremy Strong is like a douchey Daniel Day-Lewis. Not to say that he's a douche in real life, but all the characters, he's just like, he puts himself into these roles where he is just a total dick. He's
so good. But yes, his characters are all douches. Yeah, I totally agree. But we could, again, you just opened a can of worms, Kelsey. Thank you so much. We could totally talk about him and his role, and his fedora.
And that was the first time I'd seen Molly's Game too, and that's another one that I would recommend to folks.
Kelsey and I, this was my other fun part about this. Kelsey and I are big Sorkin fans, both of us.
Okay.
And so I remember like having that, we got to bond a little on that episode of like talk about, this is so Sorkin. Like, we can tell and see the things that are like Sorkin hallmarks, and that was fun to kind of like riff on that with people, because he's done a lot of films, but he's also done a lot of TV.
West Wing.
Yeah, West Wing, but he also did Newsroom. He's done something else that is escaping me right now, but he does a lot of TV, so not everybody like thinks of him, you know what I mean, as a big screenwriter.
I'm not a huge Aaron Sorkin person, just from lack of exposure, I guess, but if you like poker, or you like strong female protagonists, if you like biopics, I think you should go check out that movie and then listen to the episode.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Other other of our guest hosts who were equally awesome was, as we alluded to a minute ago, Taylor for Saltburn. We covered a couple of his pieces of feedback, but his main piece of feedback was that exercise was really fun. Being put on the spot to have to explain an ep in 3 words was really cool, because the cold open on that one I did, and I asked you that question, and then I asked him when he came on, since he was our guest, and both of you were really taken aback and I thought that was really fun to kind of like start with that. And it made me think, oh, we should do that every now and then. Like maybe not every time, but it would be fun to pepper that in more, because
especially for a movie as like weird as that
weird.
Yeah.
Like maybe even A Poor Things would have been another great one for that. You know what I mean? So also he mentioned the bathtub scene, and then my thoughts about that were just like, yeah, the way that film is in general really thought-provoking, and the bathtub being quite so edgy, and just how it ends too. And then Mac, we alluded to this as well. He was shouted out again as one of our best guest hosts. But he actually sent me just before we recorded some of his feedback as well, which I will share. So he said, my favorite part of the pod was getting into the nostalgia of each of our childhoods. Like the 3 of us all had different experiences from the Sandlot as it relates to our own upbringing, and that our own intake of the film having a different flavor. And I think we all learned from those different experiences, which was so cool. And I totally agree, because I think that's why that film was so fun for all of us, even though, again, our radically different experiences. And I think everyone who listens to that episode says the same thing. We had another person who actually texted me earlier today who said, yeah, The Sandlot was my favorite episode too. I think everybody can resonate with that, because you can identify with something from those.
Even if you never played baseball or like baseball in any way, everybody relates to that time when you miss those moments as a kid when all you cared about was going outside to play after school, right? Like every day, just like go outside, or during the summertime, going around with your friends until the street lights come on. And you got to like
100%.
Those are the best times in your life in some ways. So,
100%.
Highly relatable.
And then our most recent guest host was Chris. And again, this episode dropped yesterday, and he didn't give very like specific feedback, because again, one that just happened, but he said he listened to it today, and that it was so much fun listening to our shenanigans after the fact. This was probably a lot of those recording shenanigans, to be honest. But he said, I was giggling the whole time on the playback. And I wanted to just add.
That tracks, because if you listen to that episode, Chris does giggle a fair amount. He doesn't laugh as much, but he does giggle a lot.
And just fun fact, I have not listened to this one because it was just a brutal experience, and I still have like
I think we managed to.
I'm the emoji like this emoji who's just covering their eye. I can't even look at it.
I think we did manage to edit out most of the awkward pauses throughout it. So apologies, guys, if anything was missed. But I think
y'all sound great. I think I sound terrible, but yeah. So yeah, those are our guest hosts, and that was a great time. And we need more guest hosts, I think. Well, we have a queue. We actually do.
Yeah, we have a list of folks. We have people who are waiting on specific films. I know we're going to have one in November.
The requirement, though, PSA, guys, the requirement is you have to ask, but you also have to listen to the pod. Like, we have talked a couple of times about people who have asked, and I've had multiple requests to be on our pod, even some collabs, which we have turned down initially because they haven't listened to the pod. And that's and I'm not saying you have to be a fan and listen to every single episode, but like you gotta see if you even like it. You gotta like know the format, and if you want to if you're gonna vibe with our vibe, that's all I'm saying. Okay, so hard left turn though. Where are we going next? This is we had this ask, which I thought was a fun ask, but it was really hard to think of. Was the casting ask of what movie or role would you cast the other guest host in, or the other host in?
Do we know who asked this? I want to give them credit because that's a pretty good question.
I think it was Zed.
Okay.
I think it was Zed. I'm pretty sure it was Zed. And it made it to the primary outline, not even a feedback question, because yes, it was a great question. So, but do you already know yours, or do you need me to kick it off? Okay. Oh my God. That was like so.
I just thought of it right now.
I'm immediately stressed out because he was just confident. Like 2 seconds ago, you didn't know.
Who's the biggest pain in the ass in cinema? No, I'm kidding.
I have a list for you. I have a list for you.
I was thinking through this today, and I thought I went one way, and I was like, that's way too easy and too on the nose. And I had to talk it through with Janelle. So I want to give her some credit
Oh, shout
She's
out
the one
Janelle.
who
She probably did me a
it was,
solid.
yes.
I hope.
Because I said, I want to say that, like, originally my first thought was Mackenzie loves her spooky vibe. She loves October. I want to go like Lydia Dietz, you know,
Okay.
Beetlejuice kind of. But she was
Okay.
like, Mackenzie's too outspoken and she's not that quiet little mousy like Lydia. And I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And she said this, and I totally agree. I could see you as a Sydney Prescott in the Scream series. Like, strong female protagonist, kind of a badass, very outspoken, but still has that sort of dark edge to her. So that's where I would go.
That is such a high compliment coming from you both, by the way.
Yeah.
That is so nice. Thank you so much. Thanks, Janelle, also for doing me a solid, because I agree. I'm not quiet at all, much to the chagrin of everyone who knows me. Okay, so again, because I couldn't like help myself, I wrote a whole list.
Oh boy.
And the first one on the list is actually the first thing that popped in my head, but it's kind of not a movie yet, so I feel like it doesn't count. Should I not? It's a Broadway play. I mean, a Broadway musical.
Who Am I in Wicked? No.
No, it is Elder Cunningham in the Book of Mormon.
Which one is Elder? Is
he's the funny one? He's like really funny.
I did see Book of Mormon last year and I did enjoy it.
Well,
yes.
he's the funny one. Like, so fun fact, y'all, I had to like Google things to prompt myself, and I was like Googling funny actors, and so I went through a whole list. Okay, so that was the first one that like very organically popped into my head, is what I will say. But the rest were, and this is in no particular order, do not judge me. Derek Zoolander.
Yeah, I pull a mean blue steel when I need to.
It's like, yeah. Dr. Evil from Austin Powers.
Why?
Because I thought it's so funny. Okay, so first of all, that is definitely a result of the Goog, because I saw a picture of him like in the show and I was like, he could totally pull this off. And also, I think he is funny. Dr. Evil brings a lot to that movie. This isn't an insult. This is a compliment.
Okay. I don't see myself as a Dr. Evil.
I just think this was what I thought. I went through this list as, what do I think he could pull off? Like, what could he play? Not like
Mrs. Doubtfire. That's a funny.
That's so funny you say that. It's not, but it almost made the list. It almost made the list. This isn't like, what would I cast him in? It was like, what could you play?
Oh, what could I play?
What could you play? Okay. What could you play? This was the way I took it, I should say. Another one was Lord Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
It's been a minute, but I do, yes.
Yeah.
Rick Moranis. Yeah.
I also, it was actually a pretty organic one. This was not a result of the search, but it was once I got on this tangent of who could he play. Was Hitler in Jojo Rabbit. The funny version.
Thank God you added those last 4 words. My eyes went really big. It's like, well, this is getting cut.
This is getting dark. No. Yes, the Taika Waititi version. The funny version.
And I think we talked about that when, I forget, because we didn't do
Jojo
Rabbit, but we mentioned him at some point and how no other actor would take the role of Hitler in a comedy, so he volunteered to play it himself.
And he did a great job, but he totally pulled it off, picture. And I also think you could pull it off, is what I'm saying.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to know that I could pull off Hitler.
Yeah. You did a great job. So we're just going to cut. That's going to be the trailer for this app. Okay. Next one. I'm going to blow through these. Alan in The Hangover. Andy, the 40-year-old virgin, and that was literally because you just turned 40. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And then Remy from Ratatouille, which I think is a compliment. I had a great time doing that episode, and that is such a fun movie. And anyway, and then I got on an animated kick, and so it was Puss from Puss in Boots, and then which is a compliment.
I'll take an Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. And then finally, this one maybe not the one to close on, but I think it's funny. The little baby Bao in Bao, the Disney short. Did you ever see that short?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
What movie was that before? Was that before Up? Or
I could not tell you. I could not tell you. I watch a lot of those shorts after the fact too. So anyway, that's my incredibly long list of the things that
I also feel mostly complimented.
They were all compliments. What could Lemar pull off was the vibe. So okay. That was a long list. I apologize.
Where are we going from here? We got like
we got a lot of
shit to still get.
We have so many things to get through. I think we should we start with the fan complaints? Knock them out.
Yeah, let's hear what people critiqued.
Yeah, because I feel like again we should like be on a positive trajectory on the whole. We had some fan complaints, guys. Y'all shredded us a little on a couple of things, which you know what? Fair enough. One of the things that we had, which was interesting because this was one of my almost favorite episodes, but it was mostly the experience, I think.
Yeah. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, but this one was Jaws. And this was, you and I both have friends, and I'll let you speak to yours. You and I both had friends who had strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
And I had a friend, my best friend, who said, I feel like I should get extra best friend points because I listened to the entire Jaws episode. And while I admire your creativity, it was like listening to someone's conversation while they are talking to someone else on the phone.
It was accurate. It was a very experimental episode of like, I think you thought of the idea a week in advance. We were like, let's do Jaws in a pool. We were trying to do it on the water.
It wasn't a week in advance. It was just that Alamo didn't ever release the showing.
So we had to improvise and find a pool we could use. Yeah, you're right.
Which shout out to Stormy for giving us her pool.
Yeah, thank you again for that. Because again, the experience was great. If you guys had been there in the pool, you probably would have had a great time.
You would have had a fabulous time.
But yeah, I think it was having these mics on for the first time, figuring out if the whole thing was even going to work, watching it on a TV from, 15 feet away, trying to make the noise loud enough that we could hear it, but it wouldn't be picked up as much on the mics, and having two other people in the pool who weren't mic'd up, but we wanted to get them involved.
Well, who also like are our respective partners and not podcasters, and bless them, like, we're just watching a movie and we were trying to pod on a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that was what my friend Matt called out, because Jaws is, I think, his number one. It might be tied with Jurassic Park.
Really hurt about
but
this.
He's like, you had so many facts you could have. It's hard to be on your phone looking at research
which I still was
while you're in a pool and watching. Yeah, I didn't prep as much because I was like, it's a watch along. We'll just talk about what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
So he did talk about that. He also said, we kind of talked through Quint's entire monologue, and then we brought it up at the end. But that is such a powerful moment that I do think maybe we should have shown our respects there for that actor and like really enjoyed that.
I think it was totally on accident too. You know what I mean? Like, it passed before we realized it passed. I don't think we tried. There were a couple things too, like, just the basic bullshit of refilling the drink or.
Yeah, there was also some like dead air in the episode. I remember hating that because I want to fill this silence, but like I don't.
But we also wanted you to be able to literally watch along, so we didn't cut dead air.
Yeah.
And that was also hard because we were like, we have to say something here. And it's, if you have ever watched the director's commentary of a film, I don't know if anybody else but my fucking nerd ass has done this. It is equally awkward. It is equally painful to watch. So even if they have great gems, a handful of gems in there, you at the end are like, oh, that was so painful. I got maybe 3 or 4 pieces of great information out of it, but it was so painful. So I think it's great feedback. I think if we did a live ep again like that, we would change the formatting a bit, maybe just trim it, not make it a watch along. But I apologize to you, Matt, personally. I was trying really hard to give some factoids while in a fucking pool. So it was a whole thing. But yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah.
We had another piece of feedback from a friend of mine who said, this is a hard left turn, actually.
We just went through all the
we just went through how much we loved this, and this person did not, and like, that's fine, but it was very different. So it said, I don't always love when you have guests because they typically don't give interesting analysis like you two. Yikes. Mostly it seems surface level, and sometimes their mics suck and it's just not enjoyable because of technical issues. And my reaction to this in all caps was, our bad.
Start mailing people like this is the model you need to have. I remember Mac's mic was super loud and Chris's mic was super quiet. Low. So like it is.
And there's only so much you can do, like, guys, it just, another behind the scenes moment. There's only so much you can do in real time to troubleshoot that. We get a handful of settings that we can change. And usually it's not the thing.
And you're on a time crunch, so you can't be like, oh, let's just circle back.
And you're not in their room. You can't play with their shit. So it's very hard. But we have these little bitty baby mics that are quite cheap, actually.
Yeah.
And they're pretty solid. And I have in my notes, I was like, I'm just gonna start mailing people these fucking mics.
And to our like guest credit, I understand the feedback here.
I do too. We've struggled with it.
But we don't tell folks, oh, hey, you need to go do a bunch of research on this film and come prepared. It's more just like, hey, we'll do the heavy lifting because that's what we're used to. We want you to talk as somebody who's passionate about this film in some way, about just your opinions on it. So that's all they're asked to bring. So I don't want to feel like, oh, they're not bringing as much intelligent conversation because we never ask people to
and
bring
I think that it's a mix, right? You know, I think a combo, one or the other feedback, I think could potentially apply to any one of those interactions. And it's hard when you can't control the tech. So
I want to read Tabby's
oh my God,
feedback.
I have so many feelings about that. Yes, please do.
Did you? Okay,
I fucking went back. Did you go back?
I did not.
Okay, go ahead.
So, okay. Hottest take, angriest moment was during the Emperor's New Groove episode when Mackenzie kept mispronouncing
Isma's name.
Isma's name.
Well, it's Isma, and she sent me. Okay, here's the thing, Tabby, love you, bless you. She got into our DMs, which I think was a great time. Actually, she was like, "Oh my god, I love that." Lamar and I fight in our DMs when
we share the account.
We share the account, obviously, and so we can both message you. And so he says something, and then I say something, and da da da.
And you at one point told me to stick to a system of like, why don't you put an
L and he never does it
when you message and an M when you message? But I think it's funnier that somebody's talking to both of us, but we're arguing with each other.
He has no idea how to provide clarity there. So poor Tabby was like, who the fuck is talking to me? And we're also fighting. And her feedback to us, I think, counts as pod feedback, which was she was like, I love this DM infighting. So that was my takeaway.
I took a screenshot of it, so maybe we'll share that.
It was great. It was great. But what I will say is that she tried to spell out for me phonetically the difference in the pronunciations, and that was not helpful. It didn't help me.
Is it Isma or Yisma? Like,
what I will say is I went back and listened to it, and I do say it two different ways.
Okay.
I get so sensitive about some of these things. I seem like a hardened shell of a human, and I'm actually a squishy, soft, sensitive person. So I was very like, what the fuck did I do wrong? And in the DMs, I told her, I was like, oh my God, I'm saying it over and over to myself, and I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I just hear Kronk's voice because I can't really remember how they say it throughout the film. I just hear Kronk, and to me, it sounds like Yisma. I will touch base on her other piece of feedback about that episode, which is that I didn't score it a perfect 10. Again, I apologize. It's one that I missed when it came out. I didn't see it for the first time till probably, I think, 7 years ago, maybe. And then this was my second time watching it, and I really enjoyed it. But to me, it's not a perfect 10 movie. I'm gonna stand by that one. Sorry, Tabby.
I don't think have we given anything a 10 out of 10?
I think I might have given Pulp Fiction a 10. And I gave Sandlot like a 9.8 or something crazy like that. There's been a couple.
There's a couple that are close, but we also definitely don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. We definitely don't. Well, I want to come back to Tabby's feedback and the core of it being that it's still your responsibility to correct me.
Anytime I try to correct you on anything, I tried to correct you on Cabin in the Woods 6 fucking times.
That's different. Okay. That's a different opinion. That's not, hey, bitch, you're pronouncing this wrong. Although, let's be honest, if you told me that wouldn't go well either. So fair enough. Okay, so great feedback, Tabby. Lemar is incorrect. That's the takeaway. Got it. Our next one was another bit of feedback from Matt, which is along the lines of what you just said, so I'll let you say it.
Well, it also kind of like, I know he comes back through in his positive feedback, and I also shout out to Matt. He was one of my favorites in the feedback we received because he used emojis to mark. So he did an angry face for this one.
And I kept them in our notes. You're welcome, Matt.
Yeah. Mackenzie's Cabin in the Woods opinion in that episode. I think that was like episode 2. He put episode 1.
And he put an angry emoji, not just like a thumbs down, because he did give a thumbs down emoji on some later stuff. That one was an angry emoji. So I made you really mad. I'm both sorry and not sorry.
Yeah, we've talked about that one enough. He did put a heart, though, by his feedback that when Chris came on as a guest and defended Cabin in the Woods, and you shifting your pitch, showing your willingness to say, okay, I didn't look at it this way. I'm going to give it a little extra points because of that. So
yeah. Okay. Last one, and this is very vague, but it was in a DM a hot minute ago, actually. I kind of dug it up, but it made me laugh, which was Greg said, and I quote, his movies drive me freaking crazy. And he was talking about Wes Anderson movies. When we were plugging our Wes Anderson
I'm
movies.
not a huge Wes Anderson guy. I think I mentioned that on the pod. I think they're unique. He has a style that I appreciate. You always know when you're watching a Wes Anderson film, but for the most part, they can be a chore. So I hear where Greg's coming from.
The one that I thought was a chore, and we won't spend a lot of time on this, but the one that I do think was a chore was The French Dispatch. And it was a very different style for Wes Anderson. I mean, the core style is the same, but he broke up the story into little vignettes. They're like actually different stories. And I literally fell asleep.
Oh.
And I was in a theater. I never do that, y'all. And I had a hard time engaging in that. It was a slog. But yeah, he has a very specific style. It's not for everybody. Totally agree.
I have not made it a point to see all Wes Anderson. I think I've seen probably half of them because I enjoy some, but it's not enough that I'm going to seek them out. So.
Well, that's an excellent pivot to our positive feedback from fans.
Hell
because I love Wes Anderson, and I have seen almost, I think, everything. We had this exact conversation, and I should have gut checked myself, but you asked me on the pod at one point if I had seen all of the Wes Anderson films, and I said I think so, and you gave me a pop fucking quiz about it. And that was from Skylar, actually. The vaguest feedback ever, but still he was like, that was my favorite. When you got pop quizzed on
I
Wes
was
Anderson.
challenging you to name which actors and actresses had appeared in the most
Wes
Anderson
Anderson films.
Yeah.
In there was it was a top 10 or top 5? Top 5.
I think it ended up being like 8 actors who had been in 5 or more Wes Anderson.
That's what it was. I knew there was a 5 in there somewhere. Yeah. So I named all 8 on the fly, and that was his favorite. And I was both proud and shook that I did that. So
very proud of you.
Thank you for that, Skylar.
Did I ever get you that Chili's gift card or whatever it was?
I literally messaged you on our own Instagram account the other day, and I said, "Where is my Applebee's gift card?"
That does sound familiar. Maybe I just take you there and we get the was it Applebee's or Chili's?
It was Applebee's.
Okay.
Which I don't even know.
Are they doing the dollar margaritas there now? Maybe we go hit that up and I'll get you 10 of those.
I think they do the like sampler platter and the dollar margarita nights. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so the next bit of positive feedback that we have is from your homie John, who gave us, I think, a very sweet bit of feedback I thought you might want to share.
Yeah, so John said, "Oh, my favorite episode of yours is always the current episode. Y'all seriously get better and better each week." And that's very touching.
Oh my God,
from a technical standpoint, I remember the first few weeks, we wanted everything to be perfect.
Oh my God.
And we were editing, filler words and getting out ums and likes and and we still have a fair amount, but we had to improve at that because it was becoming another full-time job.
Yeah.
Of just sitting at a computer for 3 hours every week and editing a 90-minute episode. So I appreciate that, John.
Fun fact, it is still a part-time job.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's still probably 4 to 8 hours of work every week.
Straight up, I would say a solid, 5 to 10 hours, depending on the week. And I agree. I think it's super sweet of you to say, because we have been trying to get better on a recurring basis. So it's nice to hear that.
That was another thing I was going to say about our guests is it's not that it's not fair, but I would give them some slack because it's very nervous. Even when we have an episode, I don't know that we've announced it yet, but we have a crossover episode next week where we'll be appearing on another pod. And even when we got on there, I was more nervous to be on somebody else's podcast than I was when I host mine. So I think as we settled in and we got more comfortable and the dynamic became more clear, it definitely improves the quality of the episodes. So I'm not going to hate on our guests for putting them on the spot and being like, entertain people.
And fun fact, we haven't heard that yet, so we don't even know if we sound any good. So yeah, hopefully. All right, some more positive feedback, which we won't belabor too much because it's very kind of y'all, and we'll just kind of blow through it. But we have one. My good friend Serenity said, "I love when you guys hate things." Those are probably my favorite episodes. Which, by the way, this is a theme. We've got this more than once. And then she said, "I also liked Tarantinovember because his catalog is large and fun to rank. I like that y'all are throwing in newer movies that are in theaters as well. I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine because it was still so fresh on my mind." Because if y'all didn't know, we released that up like the week after. It was very quick. We were actually testing out a theory there because we noticed that we had a spike in our Dune downloads, and I was like, well, maybe it's like a new release kind of thing. Which we always have wanted to do new releases, but we always have, and we have done them here and there as well. But it was more of a struggle with. I think I remember Wonka, for example, and it was like, what do we spoil versus not spoil, and how much time do we dedicate to spoiler free, and how much do we, because we just want y'all to listen, but also you have seen it. So, but that's a good call out. And we, that was a big one. So I think that one had a lot more likelihood to have been seen as well. So I like that last sentence she has here of we're able to thread the needle content wise, because we balance contemporary and nostalgic films. Great Which call. I agree. I thank you for calling that out. Yeah, because I think we try to have a good mix of, some newer stuff, but also some older stuff. Fun fact, one of the future months that I anticipate us having, and I'm going to bully Lemar into doing, is a classic film month. Mm-hmm. We haven't really done that. We have talked about it, but it just hasn't been at the forefront. And you're not as comfortable with those. You haven't seen as many of those. So that's really also me trying to curate a really good list for that. I don't like it when the screen only has the two colors, like the black and the white. I like it when it's Wizard of Oz and everything after that, and it gets all colorful. Yeah, no, you're going to watch some black and white ones. Straight up. Yeah, that's part of the gig. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, see, y'all, now again, you get some behind the scenes of these are the battles I have with this man. All right, but we also have We have some good additional positive feedback from Tabby, who roasted us a little, but she also said
She threw, it's a compliment sandwich. So my favorite episodes are ranked equally and even tie both The Sandlot, which we've talked about, and League of Their Own, which we haven't mentioned yet. That one was also.
I listened to part of that today because somebody said that, and I agree, that was
personal favorite film that we've covered. That's in my top probably 5.
Top 5.
If Pulp Fiction's one, that's in my top 5. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Both those episodes painted such great pictures of the movies that I literally had to find and watch both movies immediately after watching the episodes. And also, I think, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just had to jump in with, also, she hadn't seen them. And she listened to the whole eps, or she did see them?
I'm wondering if it was like she hadn't seen them in a while, but hearing us talk about it, she's like, oh, I need to go have these same laughs again, memories. Like, I hope that's the case. I hope we didn't spoil the shit out of the movie. I hope not.
Yeah.
But that was what I was going to say, was I think some of my favorite podcasts do sort of have a niche market. I've mentioned Dead and Lovely before, where they just do horror, and they did that for 7 years. And you can do that one genre.
Oh, there's plenty to talk about.
But I like that we mix it up. Yeah. And hopefully, I know a lot of people have told me, hey, I only listen to the episodes when I've seen the movie. But I hope that in some ways, episodes like this, you guys hear us talking, okay, maybe I'll give that a chance now that I've gotten a little sneak preview without major spoilers.
And again, we do spoiler-free sections. So if you want to determine if you want to go see it, it's a good way to check out new ones that you haven't seen. That's a good segue to we had some additional feedback. This person asked to be anonymous. I liked how you do the intro. I like the spoiler warning. So this is a great segue, like I said. I really love,
like only Texans get it, but like don't turn around.
Yeah, turn around, don't drown. Yeah. Well, this person has been in Texas for a long time, so that makes sense. I really love y'all's banter, fun new cocktails to try, and y'all's analysis is very thorough. I love several eps, and Sandlot is probably still my favorite, but I love A League of Their Own. And then they also, and I meant to bring this up earlier, told us who they thought we would play.
Or who would play us.
Who would play us, rather, in a film.
If they make a biopic about our podcast.
Yeah, and you can tell this is like audio only because we don't look like either of these people. So this was, I think Jessica Chastain would play Mackenzie. Oh my God.
See that.
Also, what a compliment.
I was gonna, if you had said today, I asked you when we do the casting question if it had to be a movie we covered, and I was gonna go straight to Molly's Game. Yeah. Same reason as the Neve Campbell
so complimented. Like that is, she's one of my favorite actresses of all time, and so that is very sweet. Another one for you, again, you don't look like this person at all, but I could see it, which was Edward Norton.
I could see Edward Norton. I could see it. Yeah.
Like certain roles.
Yeah,
certain roles. Not every single role, but I could see certain roles. So I thought that was
Primal Fear.
What a choice. I love that that's where your mind went. Okay, so take us home with our last bit of positive feedback.
The last one I see is from Matt B again, and he just said, overall thoughts on Dune Part 1, which I'm glad somebody brought this up, because I'm not, we've been over this on the pod.
That took
it's
some
not
coercive.
That I'm not a huge sci-fi guy. You guys know I don't even, I've seen the Star Wars movies. They're not my favorites. I think I've seen each of them once.
Yeah.
So Dune was not something I had a lot of interest in, but it was an experience, and visually and sound-wise, it was incredible. And I will say, I watched the second part finally, like 6 months after that came out, and I liked that one a lot more. So at some point, we will do Dune Part 2.
Which we wanted to do then, I think, or close to then, and just time-wise didn't work out. So sorry about that. But I agree. I think that was a great discussion. I was really proud of you for watching the whole thing and really enjoying it. So yeah, thanks for that, Matt.
I think that first part, I critiqued the first part because understanding that the book came out so long ago, a lot of the story beats seem predictable because you've seen other sci-fi since then. I will say that in Part 2, it took some hard left turns. I was like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Because it sort of plays more into the politics and religion piece, as opposed to just like, it's a savior and it's a science fiction battle. So I did enjoy Part 2 a lot.
Yeah, it was really good. I think both were really well done. It's beautiful. It's stunning visually and very a really good adaptation. Okay, so we're gonna jump to some recommendations, but then also some questions. And I'm gonna kind of blow through the recommendations because it's really to just put a bug in you guys' ear who are listening of like, what of this would you agree with? And maybe again, we open up some polls about this later. I'm not going to go through every single one.
You guys gave us list all these movies.
Yeah, you guys gave us a crazy long list of movies. If you are watching the video, I'm showing you the entire paragraph. It's a giant paragraph of movies. So which I think is great, but I'm going to skim. So from one of my buddies, John. This was some ones that I think would make for good discussion, which I thought was some thoughtful feedback. It Follows, Cabin in the Woods, which we just did. You're welcome, John.
Checked one off the list.
Yeah, checked it off. I literally just checked it off. And The Mist. I feel like all three you could have interesting conversations about. You could also talk about sequels that come out decades after the original, like The Shining versus Doctor Sleep, or Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice 2, which again, y'all, is both of those are on our radar, but I love those recommendations. And then from another John, fun, we have literally like 15 movies that were recommended to us.
But look at what number one
is.
So
I'm going to call it number one because he's going to be really butthurt if I don't say this, which is Street Fighter, the movie. It's been plugged multiple times via DMs, via emails, via story responses, via mentioned on the pod more than once. And now, again, in the official rec list, Street Fighter, the movie. We will do it, John. I promise.
Guys, if Mackenzie makes me watch 4 black and white movies in a row, we're going to have a bad movie month at some point. Like, we have to watch some shitty, fun films.
I said we're not going to do a month. We're going to pepper them in. Maybe we'll do a month. I don't know. TBD. But
we should do really good movies and really bad movies. So we'll do 2 classics and 2 pieces of shit.
Yes, that'll be a pendulum month. And I will totally do that. I've already agreed to Street Fighter the movie. Don't worry. There's a bunch more. I'm going to just...
Anything that stands out to you in his list?
I was going to say, I'm going to at random jump out a couple, which was Mouse Hunt. I actually love Mouse Hunt. I don't know if you've ever saw it. Yeah. And then Muppet Treasure Island, I think, is a fun one.
I like Idle Hands. That's sort of like a product of its time, but Devon Sawa.
I didn't see it. So
it's like a good horror comedy. It's probably I don't know how well it's aged, but it's fun.
Okay. Well, maybe that one as well. Musicals in general. Thank you, John. I've been trying to get musicals on the docket for a hot minute. So as you can see, we don't always have the same genres, and sometimes it takes lobbying. So musicals in general, we're definitely going to do them. They're probably going to have a guest host or two. But we're definitely going to do a couple. And then
we should do the musical month. We should do the entire episode of the pod as a musical. Like write out all of our lines and do it all in melody and do like in an opera and bring back the different beats from the beginning for the finale. You're
going to compose this for us?
I think John probably could. He's kind of a musician, honestly. So
Skylar, let's put Skylar and John in a room and make them. Yeah, there you go. I like it. And then I also liked the category in general that he suggested of So Bad It's Good, which we talked about a little bit this off mic of like the water worlds of the world and The Room, and he named several others as well. But just in general, like what are movies that are so bad that they're good?
Yeah,
I like that genre. It's interesting. But yes, I don't know if I can do a month of that in a row is all I'm saying. Ashley, this is another deep cut, but I thought it was funny, so I wanted to keep it in, which was more breathy Freddie Prinze Jr. in 2025.
Which she's going to get her wish because he's going to be in the new I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel. It's been announced.
Also, fun fact, IRL watched She's All That with Ashley and Lemar for the first time, his first ever watch of that, and that was a fucking great time. It was hilarious. And Ashley and I were like nostalgia vibing.
I wish we had recorded that live because we did a much better job of riffing on that than we did on Jaws, honestly.
It would have been perfect, actually. And it was a really good, first watch for you as well. So yes, we will hopefully maybe cover that at some point. And then anonymous one, this person was really mad at me about this because this is one of my favorite movies. And that's why it is in all caps, fucking Shawshank.
Shawshank is one of those ones where I'd like to do it because I think I've only seen the movie in full like twice, and I know that is universally regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. I think it's like number 1 on IMDb or in the top 5 at least.
Yeah.
I would like to rewatch because I remember enjoying it, but not seeing what all the fuss was about. So I really want to concretize my opinion on that one, I think.
Concretize?
Yeah, that's a verb.
That's a new one. Yep. All right, cool. That fun fact is a short story by Stephen King. So it's a good time.
Okay.
Also another one that I struggle with because we actually talked about this for unrelated reasons, The Usual Suspects, because it's a Kevin Spacey movie and now it's kind of hard to watch his stuff, even though that is an incredible movie, I think, generally, but I just don't know if I can watch it the same way anymore.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, people suck. Okay, do we want to get in some questions?
Yeah, I think it's about that time. We've sort of read almost all the feedback we've gotten. Aside from, we are going to read our 3 favorites in a minute here for the prizes and whatnot. But again, thank you guys all for sending all this in. Let's get into some questions.
Yeah. So our first host of questions was, what is one movie you'd like to make the other host watch that you know they wouldn't enjoy? Or is there one that you know that they would love that they've yet to watch? Maybe either one of those.
I think one that we've talked about doing, but I feel like it doesn't really fit any theme except for October. I think we did the 1 month where we each picked 2 movies that the other person hadn't seen, and I do think this
That's
came
fun.
up. Yeah, I liked that one, and this came up, but we didn't end up doing. But I do think you will like it because it's the rare horror movie that is scary but also has a message and is also thrilling and not over the top gory. But I think 28 Days Later is a really great movie, and you get Cillian Murphy in like one of his first film roles. It's a very small cast and you get very attached to the characters. So I would say you would enjoy 28 Days Later.
Bold. All right, let's find out. It's on the list. I'm not disagreeing with you, but TBD.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine, one that same thing. I'm gonna go with the enjoy question, and I'm gonna say Killing Bono.
Like the guy
Have
from
you?
U2?
Yeah, but do you know that film? I don't think you've heard. I'm
I can
almost 100%
imagine what the
confident that
plot is, but I'm excited. What's this
almost
about?
nobody has seen this movie, so that's why I
Okay.
was pretty confident you hadn't seen it. But I think it's really fun. It's a really good movie.
Is Bono in the movie?
I think he might have a cameo, but no, it's a young Bono. So it's kind of like a story about this. It's actually written by the guy who's the protagonist, which is also a young Irishman who is a musician and coming up around the same time as Bono is coming up in Ireland as well. And it is kind of about their feud, and it's kind of a tale of two bands, right? Of like one that gets famous and one that does not. And the jealousy that ensues, and that these are people who like knew each other well and remained friends, but this guy is driven crazy by his own lack of success by comparison to his friend with whom he grew up and is as talented
And this
or
is all a
more.
true story?
It's very loosely based on a true story, and it's written by the guy who is the protagonist. Yeah. And he's played by Benjamin Barnes.
Okay.
It's a very interesting, fun movie.
Okay.
So fun fact, y'all, we had to pause because we were like, we got to fucking think about this one. And I went to my wall of movies that is behind us, and I saw it, and I was like, oh shit, I know he hasn't seen this.
Okay. I feel that's an interesting one. I've never heard of that before in my life. So.
I don't think a lot of people have. I mean, I've literally, I think I've maybe talked to one person who's seen it, and I probably made them watch it, to be honest. Who knows?
Now, I've got a question for you because I'm actually interested about this. So, in our intro and outro song, Chris wants to know who plays the sweet guitar intro, and I actually don't know the answer to this question. So, where did you get that music?
Okay, so fun fact, we've actually been, for those of you who don't know, we've been through a couple iterations of our intro music. And I picked some license-free shit way back, and we ran with that for a little while. Everything has since been republished with our current combo. And I have to shout out credit where it's due. All the branding and style and even the music that you find from our pod is provided courtesy of my mom, who is a designer. And so she actually found that music. My mom's actually also, fun fact, was a composition major in college, a musician in her own right. And so she found us the excellent music that was also license free, by the way. And
is your mom's name Pat? Am I making that up? Pat, we love you. Thank you so much.
Pat, we love you. Mom, we love you. Yeah, she found us the music. She created the branding. She also, if you haven't seen it before, if you watch our video versions, you can see it now. The promo video that we have of our animated logo, pouring the drinks and all of the sound effects and all the things. Mama did all that. Yeah. So I actually also don't know the guitarist, but I just credit Mom.
Well, thank you, Mom.
Yeah. Good question, Chris. Like it. He also had a fun question that I just want to share because we don't really have the answer to. It's going to be a lifelong mystery, which was, Lemar, why are you such a punk?
I mean, it's gotten me this far. I'm on a fucking podcast, so
it's working for him. He's done.
You
great.
got your little cameo on here. Don't be a dick about it.
Don't be a dick about it. I agree. I think this is a fun question. What inspired your love for watching films, and can you remember the first film you watched in a theater?
The first movie I remember going to see in theaters, I think, was Jurassic Park. That's the first. I might have seen more before that, but I didn't move to the States until I was 8, and that was like 92, and Jurassic Park was 94. So, first one that I remember seeing in theaters. Don't quote me on that. But what inspired my love of film? That's a very good question. And
Watching
honestly,
one? I don't know.
so yeah, maybe watching movies, I guess. Honestly, I think if I had to pinpoint it, it would probably be the horror genre. I think I got into that, and I think this is Chris and I talked about this during Cabin in the Woods, of getting into horror at a young age and just that being your segue, and then that being what you considered incredible cinema, and then realizing it's not the best genre at all the time, but there's some good ones in there. But then exploring other genres, and then throughout college and then post-college, just discovering all these new genres and directors and styles of filmmaking, I think that you just learn to appreciate. I never want to sound like on the pod or when I'm talking to people in real life about movies, I don't want to sound like, oh, look at this shot, or like looking at but it's hard not to look at some of the technicals. And when we talk about a Wes Anderson and his style, and I think based on the feedback we got, I think people do like that sort of analysis of it.
Yeah.
When you point out like these little tricks of the camera.
There's things that they didn't notice.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of, for me, what mostly inspired it. What about you?
Well, fun fact sidebar before I answer that. I don't know if you remember this, but so I came to Lemar with the idea to do a movie podcast. And it was really, I actually found the conversation because I was trying to remember, like, how did I ask you? Because it's like asking somebody on a date. It's very awkward. And I had actually
been a long fucking date.
It is a long fucking date. But I also just like, I had been wanting to do a pod for a long time and I hadn't asked anybody. And you had a similar story. And it was like, it's a lot to ask and it's hard to ask. And are you going to talk about the same things and whatever? Anyway, you and I went to a movie together and we had, I can't even remember what the movie was, but we went to Alamo and it was on the Slaughter one.
Yeah.
And we sat outside afterward and we had basically one of these conversations.
Was it one of the Scream movies? Was it like Scream 5
I think it was Scream.
or something?
Yeah, I think so. You're right. And we had basically one of these conversations about the movie. And that's when I was like, I could totally do this with Lemar. And I think it was like a couple days later that I finally messaged you. I think it was on Slack even at work. And I was like, so this might sound weird, but like, do you want to? But anyway, in the context of this pod, that is how we got here, at least for me, where I was like, I can have this great conversation with this person about this movie that is, by the way, not even one of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite genre, horror is not my favorite genre, but I can have a fun, interesting conversation about any type of movie with this person. If I can talk to this person about horror, then I can talk to this person about anything because it's not my favorite thing. And yeah, and other segue I would say is like, I also got exposed to horror at a very young age and I had a very opposite reaction to it to you. Like I was seeing it, I don't remember if I said this on the pod, but I think so. I was seeing it at my fucking daycare when I was like very inappropriately young. And this is not a real daycare, guys. This is not a licensed professional, right? My mom was poor. My parents were poor. They put me into this daycare. Perfectly reasonable. We were healthy. We were safe. Nothing like that. But it was just not, it was a grandma watching some kids. You know what I mean? And her grandchildren were actually at the daycare as well. As a result, she's watching her children's children. And so they know where grandma's shit is. They know where all of grandma's shit is, which is inclusive of all of her horror movies. She was horror movie obsessed. So I saw everything by like the third grade. Like I had seen Candyman, all the Freddy Krueger, all the Friday the 13th movies. I had seen so much horror from a very young age that I think that directly contributes to my like lack of reaction to horror.
That provides context. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I don't know. But as far as how I came to love movies, that is so hard. I think I have always loved performance art of any kind, whether it's like a musical, it's theater. I was a theater kid for a million years. And I think the way you can redirect that energy, or at least for me as an adult who like wanted to go into theater professionally and switch gears for myriad reasons, like the tangible way to in Austin at least redirect those energies was like film. And like watching a ton of film, watching a ton of art in that way. And so I think I definitely in my late teens, early 20s, got much more obsessed. I've always been a movie person. It's what I used to spend my allowance on. It was the only thing I would buy when I was really young. I used to
keep all my ticket stubs from films, and I have notebooks full of fucking movies.
I would keep all the ticket stubs, and I would I would go spend, like, DVDs used to be really expensive, and I literally on this shelf have movies that I bought in high school and middle school. That's what I spent my money on. And part of why I can't get rid of them. So I think I just got obsessed at a young age.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think cinema is a great way to, like, you're not necessarily turning your brain off. That's not, I mean, some
But it
movies
is
use,
an
some movies, but
escape.
it's an escape. It's a
It's an
way to
escape.
put yourself in a room and experience a story that's not yours and not worry about everything that's going on outside of it. It's a great
Totally.
distraction at times.
It to this day is one of the only things that can make me, like you said, kind of shut off my brain and disconnect from the world. And you know this, but for those who don't know, I go to the movies by myself a lot for that reason. Like I will just go and decompress. And it is the only place that I am not checking my fucking phone, worried about work, worried about family, doing chores. If you ever see me at home when I'm supposed to be relaxing, I'm running around the house. I'm doing nonsense. Skylar's trying to drag me and shove me on the couch to not do work. So it's like, it's the only place I am forced to sit and just take in this thing. And I love it.
That's a great call out. Now, I know we have a couple more questions here, but I think for the sake of time, I want to kind of wrap with this one, if it's okay, of just, is there in this next year, and we might have mentioned a couple of these already, but is there one movie that we've had in the back of our minds or we've mentioned where it's like, okay, in the next year, we have to fit this into our recording schedule?
God, there's so many. Because like you said, like you could spend 7 years on one genre. You know what I mean? There's so many to talk about that I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. So it's really hard for me to hone in on one in particular. I'm just going to kind of cop out and say, I think the genre that I am most eager to talk about that we haven't is the classic stuff. Like I said, like there are some great classics, because the thing about classic fucking filmmaking is that the writing is the best thing you've ever heard. The writing is incredible. It's not reliant on effects. It's not reliant on bullshit. It's not reliant on star power only. It is like, you have to tell an interesting story. You have to. And the really good ones do. And like, I just can't wait for you to watch an All About Eve, a Postman Always Rings Twice, a Maltese Falcon. And these are just like off the top of my head, but there's tons and tons of these great, brilliant classic films that are so well written. And I would just be super hyped to talk about those.
Okay. I'm going to go the opposite direction because I know you're going to hold it down with the classics, but one newer one that we've mentioned multiple times that I just think is an underrated gem from 2020 is Palm Springs. I think
I love that too.
It is my go-to like comfort film at this point. It's
you
4 years old.
recommended it to me. I don't know, a couple months back, and I went and watched it. And I think it was like, I felt really bad. I texted you at like midnight. I was like, this was so good. Like I was just so excited. It was so good.
It came out 4 years ago. I've probably watched it a half dozen times. Like it's just a good 90-minute thing to throw on. It's rewatchable, like not to give anything away, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. So everybody out there, go watch Palm Springs and be ready for the episode at some point in 2025.
100%. It's on Hulu, I think. Yeah. So, go watch it. Ping me for my login, whatever. All right. So yes, we had more questions. Thank you so much for your questions. Again, in the interest of time, we are going to switch gears to your gift, actually, because we can't give winner gifts until you get your gift.
I'm excited to get my gift before the actual contest winners.
Before the contest winners. Okay. So on camera, I'm going to show off this wrapping paper. Look how pretty.
Where did you get this wrapping paper
listening,
from again?
I apologize that you don't get to see it in IRL, but it's a movie/show/comic based wrapping paper.
Did you get that from like Mondo or Draft House?
I got it from Draft House. Yeah. Yes, I got it from Draft House. I ordered it. I saw it online and I was like, yes. And then just bow and whatever. So yeah.
Oh boy, I'm so excited.
Let's go.
Hope it's a hockey stick.
Yes, that's the box for it. You're totally right.
Okay. Oh my goodness, there's like multiple gifts in here.
There's so many things, y'all. I'm so excited.
Okay, so first gift, Mackenzie's giving me 2 new We Drink and We Watch Things shot glasses because she gave me one a year ago and I promptly lost it.
It
never made its way to my kitchen.
I will give credit where it's due. My mom ordered us those shot glasses on the first round and I gifted you one of them. And I didn't know where she got them. So I asked her again. I said, hey, just send me the link. I'll do it. Instead, she sent me an order confirmation and said, it's my anniversary gift to the pod. So that's actually for my mom.
Oh, well, thank you, Pat. All right, we got this little microphone statue. Very cute, very demure.
I have a matching one in case you were curious.
This is definitely going on.
Mine's like a little gold one. It's on the bookshelf now.
Very cute. I have like, you know how many knickknacks I have in my apartment. This is going on the shelf with all the knickknacks.
Yeah.
We got a 1984 Alamo time
I hope you don't already
capsule
have this, because
I
I
do
know you
not.
go.
No, I do have some of the Alamo ones, but I do not have any of their time capsule. So this is a.
So they've been doing time capsule. They've been featuring years of episodes, and this is the year of our dear Lamar's birth, the 1984 time capsule.
And it's like little images from all the movies that came out in '84. That's very.
And it was
sweet.
actually sold out, and I tried to get it at a theater, and I had to order it online. But I have one too, so we match.
Oh shit! And then we got one more thing in here.
This is the best part.
Oh my goodness gracious! It says host. Oh my god. Okay, I'll show the back for. So the back, it's a hoodie. It's got our logo on there. But on the front, it says host with a little microphone. That is the cutest fucking thing.
And it's a legit good hoodie. It's the Bella and Canvas hoodies. I don't know if you know about those, but they're comfy as shit. And fun fact, I also have a matching host hoodie. Mine is a crop top.
I love
We're
this
gonna be twinning so hard.
much. I mean, long distance hug.
Hug. Yeah. Right. So anyway, so the reason that you guys couldn't get your prizes until Lamar got his prizes is that, fun fact, they misprinted one of our hoodies.
Oh, really?
So we have an extra hoodie.
Hooray!
And it doesn't say host on it, and it is a gift to somebody.
And it says, we drink and we watch Thiggins. So that's what you're going to win. But I do have a gift for you. It's not as awesome as what you gave me. I was shocked a couple days ago when you told me there were going to be presents.
Oh, yeah, I did sort of call an audible.
I'm one of those people who is like, oh, somebody's getting me a present, I have to get them a present. But
you didn't have to, but I was just
knew
excited.
I wanted to get you something to drink in honor of the pod, so I got you this cool little bag as well. But like,
it says boo.
So there's a big gift on the top. So take that one out first.
Okay, wait. How do I know what's big?
The big heavy.
Is it the heavy thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a red wine. It's called Freak Show.
It's called a Freak Show.
And I was drinking that last, well, you guys will hear it next week, but on the Prime Cut podcast that we're going to be on for the thing. And I bought that wine. I thought Freak Show was a good brand name for the thing. And it went down really well. I used it to make the cocktail that Skylar designed for the episode.
Oh, yeah, the blood test.
I finished the rest of the bottle that night. So
because that's what you had to do. Oh my God, he'll love this bottle. I am a sucker for a good bottle.
And before you take the other gift out, so I did some research, and the 1-year anniversary gift has to be paper.
Oh.
So the next gift, not that.
I was going to say paper.
That's
I
part.
got paper.
That ties in. This is a bonus paper.
So
I got you some paper plates from HEB with little cowboy ghosts.
Y'all, if y'all can't tell, I love spooky things. So this will fit right in. And also, I'm hosting a Halloween party, as you know. So we're going to use these.
Paper gifts. So happy 1 year, friend.
Also, this is a cute ghosty.
It's like all HEB. That's like their design.
Oh,
so
I love their stuff.
HEB.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Second long distance hug.
Cute. Second long distance hug. Okay. Well, happy anniversary to us.
Yeah.
And now, happy anniversary to y'all. So
how do you want to do this? You want to read, and then do you want to say what the prize is first? We have 3 prizes, right?
Okay, yes. The third prize is going to be the shot glasses.
Okay.
And because I have a couple extras. And then the second one, I think it got ousted. I know we've been hyping it up, but I think it got ousted by the hoodie, to be honest. So I think the second place prize should be the koozie. What do you think?
I think maybe we give the first place winner a choice depending on their size, because if the hoodie doesn't fit, they might not want the hoodie.
Let's do that. I totally agree. But the third one, shot glasses. And this is from my dear friend John, who is a fan of the pod, listens to every single episode. Love you so much.
Does John have a last name or a last initial?
He is John V.
As in
Victor.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, my all-time favorite episode y'all did was the I Know What You Did Last Summer app. My top 3 moments. Number 1, when you were discussing how stupid Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character is in I Know What You Did Last Summer, I was on a work road trip and I was laughing into other card lanes. So if that's not a fucking...
We almost killed somebody.
That is
pretty badass.
That is the best testimonial I've ever heard. The second bit of feedback that he had, top 3 moments, Lamar extolling the art of pro wrestling to a skeptical but open-minded you in the Iron Claw
I
review.
did like how receptive you were to the explanation of pro wrestling, and like,
it is an area I know very little about, and I'm super willing to learn. But
at the end of the day, it's Shakespeare.
Have you watched the Mr. McMahon Netflix
We're
yet?
5 episodes in. We're on the finale now, and
okay. Well, we're not gonna sidebar now, but
Yeah.
we want to revisit that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little reel later. We ask you
Yeah.
your feedback on that, because as we know, Lemar gets most passionate. I just heard this again on one of our episodes today about feminism and pro wrestling
and Hot Topic.
He can't not mention. Well, yeah, because you were about to hit your quota of like not mentioning Hot Topic, so we had to bring that up. The third one, the Dawn of the Dead review, which I think is one of the strongest disagreements you both have had. You haven't heard Cabin in the Woods yet. I like when you clash a bit. Yes. We got a lot of feedback about that, actually. Like, more very generalized feedback was fight more. And so
I do. It is fun when we can like sort of push back. And I think neither of us is so entrenched that it becomes argumentative.
Except for in Cabin in the Woods. I can tell y'all, again, behind the scenes, that is the first time I felt actually like Lemar was actually mad at me. Like, I thought you were actually mad at me. I think that was accurate, by the way. I think you were actually mad at me. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know we were in a real fight. Shit. But yes, thank you, John. That was excellent feedback.
So John won shot glasses. John V won shot glasses.
Yes, he won shot glasses.
Cool.
100%. And then coming in at number 2 is my dear friend, my bestie, Courtney R. She wrote us a whole spiel, and I'm just going to read it because I thought it was the sweetest thing. It's kind of a review, to be honest. She actually gave us some incredible review content about Mean Girls separately and unrelated to this, but she kind of summarized it all here. So I'm just going to read it. Happy 1 year podcastersary, movieversary. Okay, just happy anniversary, which I support this.
Clever.
She said, "We Drink and We Watch Things" is basically the podcast version of having a movie night with your funniest, tipsiest friends.
Oh.
They watch movies and shows, sip cocktails, and serve up hilarious commentary with a side of pop culture trivia and thought-provoking reviews. It's like a book club, but with more booze, fewer rules, and 100% more inappropriate jokes.
I don't like being compared to a book club, but I did like the second half of that
I loved everything about that fucking blurb. Like, that
you love the book part.
I do love the book part. I like want to tear up. That is such an incredible review. I want that to be our teaser trailer for our episode. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. Her other feedback was, my favorite episodes are anything from spooky season and of course the Mean Girls episode. I consider myself a true member of the Regina George fan club, and I even learned a few more fun facts from Mackenzie and Lemar about the film. I also love the podcast, really wondering what a baby prostitute smells like, which was, if y'all recall, my question to everyone.
Yeah.
She has the answer for us, folks. She says, it smells like an overpowered gummy bear scented glitter body spray.
That tracks, yeah.
Which, by the way, checks out. Totally agree, yeah. And she goes, they really ask all the hard-hitting questions.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we fucking do. Anyway, she said, keep up the great work. Can't wait to hear what you'll be covering this year.
Oh, that was very sweet.
Thank
you,
was very,
Courtney.
very sweet. Thank you, Courtney.
Enjoy your hoodie slash koozie, depending on
TBD.
what our first place winner wants. You want me to hit this one?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, you've heard a lot from this gentleman during today's episode, but we're going to give you some of the stuff we haven't heard yet. And this is Mr. John Braun, one of our podcast listeners down since day one, and very grateful for his thoughts. So he says, congratulations, first and foremost. This podcast is seriously entertaining, and it takes a lot to consistently show up and do a thing like this. You both bring honest reactions to what you watch, and it never feels like you're hiding what you think about a film. You can say that again. It feels like hanging out, which is awesome because I enjoy hanging out and chatting movies. I think it'd be cool to add a preview or trailer element to the show, reiterating his love as always for Street Fighter the movie. Maybe that is like his first place prize, is not only does he get his choice of the prize, but we promise to cover Street Fighter in 2025 finally.
Yeah. Fun fact, the hoodie's a medium, so if you can't do it, you just let us know. The podcast episode can be your prize.
And he sent us like so many other great things that you guys have mentioned.
Peppered them in.
We've covered his suggestions. We've covered his questions.
I think we could argue, and I'm just going to say this. I know he's like your close friend, and you probably can't say this without it sounding biased, but I think that he might be our number one fan. Like, truly.
I would not doubt that. I mean, just
participating all the time. Like, these are a couple of different emails, but DMs with feedback and comments and engaging with our stuff. And I appreciate you, John. I really do. And so first prize is well earned.
Yeah, you've earned it not just with this email, but with all your interaction with the pod over the past year. And we sincerely appreciate you and all of the folks who gave us all this great stuff.
Yeah. So with that, I think we want to wrap it up, and thank you for hanging with us this long. We know this was a lot, but I think it was well deserved. We had a lot to cover, and it's been a year. It's been over a year, and actually over 52 episodes. Fun fact: we are at episode, I think, 53 or 54 by the time we publish this. So we have put out more than one episode a week over the last year. So I'm really fucking proud of us. Actually,
agreed, dude. Like, I will say, I think this episode's going to go one of two ways. Either people are going to think it's very touching and thought-provoking, or it's going to be another Halloweenish where it's like they talked for 2 hours about a million different things.
I feel like we had a lot more structure though this time, guys.
I feel like the flow
please be proud
was
of us.
there,
We worked
so,
so hard
like,
on it. But
yeah.
if you didn't love this one, can you just not tell me? This was like a lot of, this was very heartfelt.
This is one for us. We do
This is
51 for them. We do one for us.
We did 53 for them. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is our one. You don't have to listen. But yeah, so with that, what are your kind of closing thoughts?
I have two questions. We'll start with the kind of, has your rating system changed at all when you go back and listen to how you were rating at the start of the episodes versus how you rate currently, or do you still feel like you go with that gut check?
I think I'm always a gut checker. Like, I would be interested to look at my scoring, and see if I can identify a trend. But I think I have been and probably always will be very much a gut check person. So, I very much often go with my instinct, and I don't so much worry about criteria. If that makes sense. So if it hits perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it hits me and the feels the right way, then I'm going to give it a 10. If it is a great concept and highbrow and intellectual and all the things, but they miss the mark, I'm going to give it, a low rating. I just think it's part of it, just like we said, of just when you're in that moment of watching it and you're escaping into this film, like, does it resonate?
Okay. I think it's good to hear that you've sort of stuck to your guns with your philosophy.
So. What about you?
I think honestly, I asked the question because I feel the opposite, where I feel like I've kind of adjusted over the course of the year. I think I'm one of those people who's very self-critical, so I worry that somebody's going to hear something that I said 40 weeks ago and is like, wait, that's not how you rated the, now.
Oh, I would be wrong. I would be lying if I said that you hadn't influenced me in specific instances. But yeah, I think my initial gut check is the same, but I think, like, as we talk about things, that has here and there changed things.
I do like that we do that, where we say we're going to do a rating before the real deep dive, and then we reevaluate. I do dig that. I think I've started introducing a little more subjectivity. I think at the start of the pod, I tried to say, hey, I'm just going to evaluate every movie on, like, does it do what it tries to do, what it sets out to do? But I found myself with recent ones, I think The Strangers comes to mind, where I was just like, dude, this isn't my kind of movie. And I'll acknowledge it and say, I'm giving this a lower rate. Like, I'm deducting a point because it's not my personal style of movie. But that's my personal rating. So I think I'm more comfortable doing that now, as opposed to trying to be objective in everything.
I think that's good to throw in there too, because it's like, there are so many forms of rating systems. There's like, is this a great film, or did I just have a great time? Like how we said about Twisters, like, it's not a highbrow, great, incredible piece of art, but it's a fucking great time,
Sometimes
so
you just want to watch a giant tornado, fire in it, fireworks.
100%.
My second question was going to be, a year in, what's either been your biggest lesson, or if somebody came to you and was like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a podcast, like, what would your piece of advice be? Either one of those you can answer, but what have you learned the most?
So many things. Gosh, lots of little things, little themes, I'm sure. I think on the whole, it is so much more work than you think it is.
Yeah.
It is so much more work than you think it is. We both thought, we're going to just have a drink with our friend and record it, and we're going to see if it sounds great, right? And it just inevitably, you have to do things to it. You can't put that product out there and feel like it's done for any number of reasons, technical issues, likes and ums and filler words and whatever it is. But, like, we care about the art, that this is a different form of art, and we care about the product and the art that we're putting out there. And it is so much more work than you think for it to come out the way that you want. And I think that's my number one lesson. My number two lesson was that Lemar is way more type A than I realized. Now, this is my naivete, and I have talked to Janelle about this. For quick backstory, Lemar and I met through work, and Lemar at work is like the funny, chill guy at work. Like, nobody, I mean, they think he's very together and does a great job at his job. I don't mean that, but just like, he's chill. He seems chill. And again, very funny and humorous, which I think is often equated to being like a easygoing,
Mm-hmm.
light, whatever kind of person. And while you are very funny, you are not easygoing. You are very particular about the work product that you want, the way things are done. And I have again learned this, like hanging out with you. You can't hang out with Lamar. Without an activity. There's an activity involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's an agenda. There are games. There's a task. There's a thing. You know what I mean? Like, and this is the teacher in him. Like he has an agenda for every single thing. And it has been both an incredible blessing for somebody like me whose eyes were too big for their stomach when taking on something like this, and also a little bit of a curse because I had no fucking idea. And so when you have two type A people in a room, it inevitably, I think it's fair to say, like, you're going to have different opinions. And so that has happened, but I actually think it has turned into a great mix. I don't mean that,
Yeah.
but it was one of the biggest lessons I learned,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I think there's definitely compromises for sure. There are times where we, have to discuss and sort of we have to pick our battles of
Yeah.
like, hey, we want to do this theme this month. Let's each pick two movies or whatever.
Yep.
And sometimes we do a movie that I'm not all that interested in, or
Yeah.
vice
Vice
versa.
versa. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of my friends could tell you that like. If anyone's familiar with the DISC assessment, I'm like equal parts influential, which is where fun guy at work comes from, and like
Yeah.
entertaining and trying to make people laugh. But I have a huge dominant
Dominant.
side where
And
I
that's
have to get
the
my
same.
way.
I have the same DISC assessment.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm the same, which again can be it's awesome for getting shit done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it can be a process. And it's less that it's been an issue at all. It's just been, oh shit, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That's all.
But I think it's better for us for the final product is to
Yeah.
your point, like we want to make sure it's not just a matter of like I want to be funny. It's a matter of like I want to make sure that I'm putting something out there that I'm proud of and that people are going to enjoy. I don't want to make my friends, our listeners feel like they're just doing this cuz I'm their friend. Like I want them to have a good time listening to it. And I mean it shows that they've stuck with us for years. So
Yeah. Bless y'all.
I don't think I'm going to repeat anything outside of what you said. It's a fuck ton more work than you think it is, even
Yep.
if you're taking it easy. But yeah, I think this partnership has been awesome, and it's been a blast to do these first 50 something episodes and to have, there's no deadline that I know of, so I think we're just gonna keep on going.
Yeah, we have no deadline. Share with your friends. We're gonna keep up the good work. It's a lot of work, like we said, but I loved the comments from people about like I feel validated. I feel seen. I love this. I love that you thought this. I love that you introduced me to something that I never saw. I love that you made me look at this movie a different way. And like that just makes it worth it. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
getting choked up already. Like I just think that's like this is so much work and it's a passion project and it doesn't matter what the result is as long as people like it can be 5 listeners, it can be 5,000,
Hmm.
5,000,000 listeners. If there's 5 of you that give a fuck about this, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think we both had that conversation on day one. Like we
Yeah.
sat down to do our first episode and we were writing
When we were
sort of
young, naive baby podcasters.
we were writing our first outline and like our notes and discussing the flow of the episode. And I remember having that talk of just doing this for the right reasons. We
Yeah.
had no delusions of grandeur of like, oh, this is going to be the number one
And listen,
podcast.
we
Like,
haven't hit grandeur,
yeah,
so
well, but we understand like the podcast market is saturated.
Yeah.
There's a ton of podcasts out there that do the same thing that we do.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, this is not an excuse for me to try and become famous. This is an excuse for me to sit down with my friend and have a drink and like
Again, yeah,
talk
just
about
have
our
a drink and talk
passions.
about your movies.
So that would be my big positive takeaway is like do it with somebody you care about, do it with somebody that you get along with and that you're gonna produce an entertaining product because
Yeah.
your personality's vibes. So yeah.
And I would say too, like outside of the pod, just nugget for y'all, like our friendship has just changed. I think both of our lives, at least I hope for the better, and has expanded my circle, my worldview, my relationships, and again exposed me to all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise watched. And so yeah, I'm just really grateful for the last year. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for co-hosting. I can't do a
Thank
heart
you.
from this angle. I'm trying, but my
Yeah,
elbow's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Thanks for coming along this crazy ride with me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what do we got next week after all this 2 hours of nonsense?
Yeah, this has been a long one. But our next one is actually as exciting, if not maybe more exciting.
We are experimenting a lot this month.
We are. We're like big, brave new worlding it over here. We're releasing next week our first podcast collaboration. And actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's not our first ask to collab on a podcast.
But we're very picky.
But one, we're picky, and two, we're busy. So we finally did one. And this is our first one with the Prime Cut podcast. And we were super excited. This was a great conversation. We have not heard it yet, transparently.
But I was having a blast.
We were having a blast. Yeah. It was a great time. It was also a long one, so strap in. But we were talking about The Thing, and I think it was an awesome discussion.
I think it was great. It's going to be I'm curious to hear the final product, because we went long.
Yeah.
But I respected the hell out of those guys, because like I said,
shit together.
People complimented us on doing our research and knowing facts. They were dropping bombs, and we got to show up and just sort of like give our color on
chilling,
it.
You know? Yeah. So. I mean, we had stuff ready for sure. It's not we didn't do our homework, but it was a very easy, fun experience. Those guys are awesome. If you haven't listened to them yet and you want to check them out before, their Prime Cut podcast, and they're on, I would assume, all platforms. I personally listened to them on Spotify.
And they do like themes sort of as well. Like they do seasons, and I think they're in the middle of a Kurt Russell one, and they've done sort of like different, they don't do a month like we do, they do different like flows. And I'll just say, I think I say it on their pod too. It feels like we have the reason we chose this crossover was it's like we do a similar product. Yeah. We have similar discussions. I think if you guys vibe with us, you'll probably vibe with them. So we're obviously going to drop their episode into our feed. And we had talked about potentially doing another October episode of our own. That's on the fence. We don't want to make any promises. And
if we get time, maybe.
Yeah. And if that ends up not being a thing, I will just edit this out. But who knows? You guys might get a bonus episode next week as well.
Yeah. I think one of the ones that I'm really interested in is Long Legs, like we talked about. Yeah. Like if we should check that out. But yeah, I agree. Go check out Prime Cut podcast wherever you get your podcasts. But also,
don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. My script here says yada yada. Mackenzie wrote that for me. But
I thought he would insert actual words.
No, you guys know the thing. Like, also, it's so cool that we have the video on Spotify now, so you can watch the video there.
It is
you can also,
cool, huh?
You can also find us on YouTube if you prefer to watch via YouTube. Give us a subscription there. I know you guys are listening in all these different places and where you get them, but all the attention we can get just gives us more eyes on the product. So we appreciate you guys going that extra mile for us.
And let us know like what you like about it. Transparently, YouTube is a new platform for us. So I would love to hear what people like about it, if it's enjoyable to watch, because we have both audio and video versions on YouTube. So if you listen to like YouTube Music, for example, you can find us there as well. But you can definitely watch the video. And then on Spotify, you can watch the video. And
if you're not watching the video right now, you're missing out on all this.
You're missing out on so much. Like you're missing out on the Burt Reynolds. You're missing out on the sweater, the decorations. There's so much happening here. So yes, please let us know what you like about that. But for now, thanks for spending time with us today. A lot of time with us today. But go have 365 drinks and celebrate 365 things to celebrate 1 year of We Drink and We Watch Things. So cheers
to that, friend.
Cheers.